I'm Ralph, co-founder at USI, and at USI we believe in people-centred design. So for us it's all about bringing kind of people and communities together and using their lived experience to influence the places we live, work and play. So we were approached by Belfast City Council to look at how we could support in reimagining what lighting could do for the city centre. So the plan was, how can you bring a sense of belonging or a sense of feeling of home within lighting within a city? The ability of 3D printing is, it gives people like us that don't need to be advanced manufacturing experts an opportunity to get into the whole process of design to manufacture. So after establishing a series of co-design principles that could change the belonging and the identity of lighting within our city, an opportunity arose to look at reimagining the entries, which were forgotten kind of alleyways and corners of the city.
We originally, when we knew that we had the wine cellar space, where you see the lights today, we really had like a free range of how we wanted to approach it. But so at one stage it was just a series potentially of wine bottles that were suspended all the way to a mix of like mythical creatures. And then we landed on the kind of the idea of the ocean orbs, which was intrinsically linked to the heritage of the sea and the fish market. Yeah, as far as kind of the colour, materiality and the shape, that was again an iterative process that was really only possible by having the access to the 3D printers on site, where we could kind of like test out all these different ideas. As you'll see, like they are kind of a fluorescent-y kind of white. We toyed with the idea of like having them as different colours, but we knew that we were working with an external like lighting company, and we knew that those lights were going to be coloured in themselves. So by having them white, it meant that we could like switch up the colour as much as possible, and obviously that meant that the orbs themselves would just like emanate different colours.
There's not a lot of people who live in the city centre, so at night it can be very kind of quiet, and this idea of lighting, like bringing lighting into those little tiny cobbled entries, kind of makes them feel a bit safer and a bit more welcoming for people. And especially like when it's dark outside, people are doing the Christmas shopping, all of that, it kind of just brings a little bit of interest and welcome to spaces that otherwise you maybe wouldn't walk through.
So the ability to pretty much set the S5 up anywhere is really handy for a startup. So particularly moving from our studio in this old mill through lockdown to the spare room in my house was pretty handy when we had a deadline to meet and meant we could continue manufacture. But the ability to kind of constantly change parts, adapt and actually use them in a way that improved our design and allowed us to actually experiment through the actual making process completely changed the output of the product that we wanted to create.
In total, there was, I think there's say 8 of the small ones, and that was made up of sort of 3 subsections. The medium-sized orbs was maybe around 10 subsections, and then the largest was maybe even 15. And we had probably in total maybe 15 actual orbs themselves, so there was a lot of 3D printing.
We worked with a supplier for filament called Filamentive, and they are quite a sustainable company as far as their produce go. The cardboard spools that came with the filament, they are of course are 100% recyclable, as well as they also have like an ethos behind it of for every X amount of kilograms that you use of filament, they plant a tree. So it's trying to approach sustainability from multiple levels, from like literal efficiency within the material used within the company, down to who we're using as a supplier.
One of the benefits was with the 3D printers is that we could have them printing on in the background whilst we were able to progress with other aspects of the project. So it was almost like having an extra pair of hands on board without actually utilising any human resources from that. So it definitely benefited us that way. It also allowed us to then fabricate on site, in a much quicker and effective manner, because the product was already done. It was just about assembling it and curating it on site. In terms of architecture, is it quicker? Maybe not. But is there weight in it? Yeah, definitely, because it offers you an alternative mode of it's basically an alternative mode of research, if you like, because it's showing us something else that maybe the human eye can't see through traditional model making or through traditional design itself.
Something which is quite a benefit is like if you make mistakes or you need to do design iterations, the fact that we had our 3D printers on site meant that we could just make a change or 3D print and have it within a matter of hours, opposed to thinking, oh my god, I've sent something away and have it come back and that'd be wrong, and like obviously increase the time frame of a project.
We're actually sitting in a quarter of the city that was known within the industrial age, rife with shipbuilding, and particularly this floor right now within the linen industry, which was the backbone of Belfast. As that's deprived and declined within the communities that are around here, there's almost an open call for how we reimagine advanced manufacture again. Now, with the ability of the S5 and 3D printing, imagine being able to put that skill back in the heart of young people that are aspiring to design and make in the future.
3D printing isn't just isolated to, projects like the lighting project. It can be used in not only architecture but other disciplines like Rosanna's. So 3D printing is, how it's reframing architecture in the future is something that is already being touched on in universities and practices alike. And it's something that architects can utilise whenever it comes to figuring out, structural integrities of a design, for example. And it goes beyond the conventional model making that we're so used to as architects, especially going into, that sort of the future that we're going in with regards to technology. And I suppose 3D printing isn't an isolated, thing whenever it comes to coming up with designs or sort of structures or ideas. It's universal in terms of what sort of disciplines it can go across. So I guess to summarise, it's basically something that I think we do need to get on board with in the architecture profession, in tandem with the conventional practices that we're so used to and that we're so skilled at.
3D printing as a process within our company is an interesting one which we really need to explore more. Like my background is in architectural visualization, so I understand how 3D modeling works, and that is directly transferable to 3D printing. It's really easy. It's just like an export and then bring it in and then effectively just print and take real live objects, take photos of them, construct them in 3D and then 3D print them again at scale. The implications of that as far as like sculptural design or just concept design and exploring ideas from like the level of a component to a full-scale site, but just like scaled down is super exciting.
The flexibility to manufacture in the heart of our studio, to literally redesign, reconfigure, and kind of imagine parts as we're sitting there with pen and paper to modelling was just an experience we haven't had the opportunity to do yet. So that really became an organic process where we started to transition and literally make these objects and these lights from table to the street. So the ability for hospitality to rethink the way that they spill onto the pavements, pedestrianise pieces of the city, and then to be able to create spectacles that allow for activity and cultural programming to take place has just been a joy to watch, especially when, for the last year or two, we've not really been able to open up again.